Everything is your f***ing fault. And let that sink in for a second. Everything's your f***ing fault. In my business, everything is my f***ing fault. Even if the client doesn't get a result or doesn't get X or doesn't get Y when they were expecting a W, that's my fault. At the end of the day, that's my fault. And it's my fault because I either did not train the people under me who are managing those systems, or I did not train the people who are managing the people who are managing those systems. So at the end of the day, I did not set proper expectations. I did not set up proper systems. I did not set up proper procedures so that my people failed their jobs or failed their tasks. Okay, so the same thing with this show. If I have a fire burning and I don't go and get out and go and get more firewood, what do you think is going to happen to the fire? It's going to die. All right. But do I come back to camp and I go, hey, you guys, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? What? And I start blaming them for stuff. No. At the end of the day, I had 2 legs. I could have got up. I wasn't sick. I can go get more firewood. I can go get things that we need that are necessities for us. Or I can say, hey, Jim, you are obviously way more skilled at getting the best firewood because I always pick the wet shit that never lights. Can you please do fire? And I'll make sure our shelter's amazing. And then Jim's doing firewood. So now Jerry or Jessica or Samantha, whoever that team member is on your team, can you go make sure we have enough water so that everybody doesn't get dehydrated? And then, Matt, by the way, Matt's this dude on Naked and Freddy's badass, but he's a hunter, all right? And he's out there just hunting all day long. If you just leave him hunting, he'll bring in like boars, lions, elephants, whatever. He's the best at hunting. So would you stop him from his perfect piece, like for what he's good at, to say, hey, man, can you come help me dig this trench? No. You're going to get out. You're going to do it. You're going to make sure that the trench is done because at the end of the day, it's your survival on the line. It's your team's survival on the line. And if you're the leader, then you're responsible for everything that goes wrong, hands down. And if you don't believe me, go ask Jocko, go read the book, Extreme Ownership, and absolutely take every piece of that to heart. It's your fault. At the end of the day, it's your fault and nobody else's. Okay? The 4th pillar of this amazing success that Naked and Afraid has brought, you always want to hope for the best, but plan for the worst. All right. So in a couple of these episodes, I think they're in Amazon and they built a shelter and they put no roof on. All right. So the Amazon's a rainforest. So it didn't rain day 1, didn't rain day 3. And they're like, man, this is great. What bad could happen? And all of a sudden, this torrential downpour. I think one of them had to leave because he had hypothermia. And they both had to quit because they were not adequately prepared for the worst situation. So they were hoping it was great, but in their mind, they weren't prepping for this is the worst thing that could happen. What happens, like coronavirus just hit. Who the f prepared for that? I mean, we didn't. We lost 40% of our revenue. But when we came back and we started making adjustments and making preparations and making things happen, guess what happened at the end of the month? We had only lost 9% of our revenue. We were only down 9% from the month before. All right. So you can catch up, but the best thing to do is to prepare for something that's coming, to see the faults and the flaws before they happen. So that way, instead of being reactive, you're proactive. And that's how your business will scale. If you take the time, so going back through all these 4 things, if you take the time to set the right examples, set the right processes and the right systems in place for your people, then they're going to have the correct ways to make sure that everything's done on time and everything's done to a consistent standard that you want. Okay. And if they're doing that and they're maintaining everything, and then you're constantly developing your skills as a leader to make sure that they're developing their skills as a team member, then it's going to exponentially grow your business. 3rd is if you take blame for everything and it's your fault, then you're always looking for a solution to fix it. Okay. Because you can only rely on yourself. You can't rely on everybody else. And with that, the last piece is that if you're hoping for the best, but you don't plan for the worst, you're ultimately planning to fail. Because what happens in plan B? What happens if the fire doesn't start immediately? What happens if the rain comes in, you're sitting by a river and it floods up 5 feet and floods your entire camp? What happens then? Well, now we have to pick shit up. We have to move. We have to go to this. We have to start over from 0 is basically the answer that you're going to get there. Okay. So That brings me into pillar number 5. This is a weird little house that we built with 5 pillars, but fuck it, we're on pillar 5. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Even though you're in a leadership position, even though you're in a position of power, really it's more of a position of responsibility, don't be afraid to reach out to a mentor, a colleague, someone, even competitors sometimes, your own team members, and say, guys, I need help with this. If I see the fires going down and I'm bringing as much wood as I can, I'm going to say, hey, Jerry, Bob, this is mission critical for us to survive, for our business to thrive. This is what I need done. Please help me do this. All hands on deck. I need help. You have to get over your own ego if you want to be a leader. You cannot have an ego and be a leader. If you have an ego and you're a leader, then you're never going to take on number 3, which is everything's your own fault. So boiling it back down again, set the right expectations, build the right systems, put the right processes in your place for your team to be successful, and do that by being successful in those areas and discipline in those areas yourself first, okay? Second is continue to go to conferences, continue to watch or listen to podcasts or watch TV to improve your leadership skills and styles, okay? Third is be okay with everything being your fault. At the end of the day, everything is your fault. And if you're okay with that, then your team will have so much more faith and trust in you that they'll be willing to follow you to the end, because they know that if they mess up, you're not just going to come down on them super hard. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's pretty self-explanatory. But the 5th one is the hardest one, and I struggled with this for years, is ask for help. All right, guys. So speaking of that, if you have any questions or any comments, post them below. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And let me know what you thought about this video. If you like more content like this, I'll put more out. If you don't like it, then it. We're not doing this ever again. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk soon.